What I most admire about Kristi is the fact that, like many people, she turned herself into a success story. I'm here with the amazing and brilliant Kristi Saucerman of Auction Frogs. I'm so lucky that she is a friend of mine. I learn from her every time we're together, and I'm just excited for her to share her wisdom and just pour it into you this morning. So, Kristi, I have a list of things that you and I have never talked about. Before we get started, let me tell a little bit about you, and then I'll let you dive in deeper. Because from where I sit, my friend, what I most admire about Kristi is the fact that, like many people, she turned herself into a success story. She learned something she never knew. She saw a problem, something that was an issue in the fundraising world. She figured out a way to solve it, and she just like boom sauced the entire world with her baby Auction Frogs. And I have a huge heart for women that turn themselves into anything they want, reach massive potential. And that's something that Kristi has done in a big, big, big way. So Kristi, Auction Frogs. Tell us a little bit about Auction Frogs, what it is, and where this came from.
Okay, so Auction Frogs started out as passion and have a hobby. It's something I really enjoyed doing, and which is fundraising. And I did this for so many different nonprofit organizations over the years. As a young mom, stay-at-home mom, this was a hobby. This was something I enjoyed doing. And so the more I did it, the more I found that I wanted to automate or reach larger audiences from a silent and a live auction. Because as you know, silent auctions, you struggle with how many people show up at the event, how many items you have to bid on, and how much time there is to actually bid on those items. So I wanted to take that experience and put it into something that reached larger audiences and made more money for the nonprofit. And so I volunteered for a lot of different groups, and I ended up taking the experience and my passion for fundraising and creating an online auction tool, which ultimately was the start of Auction Frogs. The whole tagline, leap into online fundraising, is where that name comes from. But taking that silent auction, put it into an online auction, reach larger audiences, longer time frames for bidding ultimately. And it grew from the Hidden Springs Charter School and Junior League of Boise to a school in Eagle, Galileo, North Star, Garden City Community School, and then it got into Boise State, and somebody from Tennessee called, and somebody from Florida called, and a church called from another neighboring city. So one thing led to another, where people continued to hear about Auction Frogs as this online auction tool to help fundraising reach larger audiences for a longer time frame. It continued to grow exponentially with the awareness and the interest, and went from a hobby over the years, evolved into a larger scale business, moving out of the online auction focus and into event management, encompassing the silent and the live auction, check-in and check-out, mobile bidding, online audiences all over the place can participate.
You started this during a fundraiser for your daughter's school. You're like a super volunteer. You're like the girl that gets everything done, right? That's you. So you have this idea on how to maximize your daughter's school's fundraising event. If I read this right, you tripled from the year before. And now you have all of these other places saying, can you do this for us? Can you do with us? Did you, like, you had to be scared, like you're right. So what is this like for you? You go from just trying to help your daughter's school, and now you realize, like, oh, there's a need for this. What did you wrestle with, like, internally, mentally?
One, how to balance it all, right? I was a stay-at-home mom. I had young kids that were in school, and I was still volunteering for the school, and I was just trying to balance it all between creating a company, which started out just as a hobby, and as it grew into to its own state of mind. It just continued to take a lot more time of my own. It started to just grow exponentially, and I didn't know exactly how to balance or manage it all. That was one of the biggest fears I had, is how do you take it all and still be that mom and still be present and still manage to be everything else to everyone else that I was.
So how did you do that?
How did I do it? Well, for one, I surrounded myself with people who understood and that I could collaborate with. I created mentors, or a team of people that I surrounded myself with, good friends, people I could talk to. I had friends help me accomplish some of the tasks that I needed to do for these schools, or some of the calls that need to be made, or reaching out to people who understood me, that wanted to support me, help me. I had a group of advisors that I would go to and often just brainstorm and bounce off ideas and have them give me different perspectives outside the box, and not just me looking at this forest through the trees. I could hardly see it oftentimes, but you get the different perspectives from your friends and people you trust, and this circle of people that support you. And it really helps to really define the next steps. So that was the biggest thing that I did to help me really focus and find the path that I needed to follow and what was right for me.
So along the way, like, it's so easy to sit here and be like, this is just like a fairy tale. Like, you just like boom from stay-at-home mom to huge on the fundraising, the auction scene. And it's very easy for people to look at that and go, oh yeah, well, she's super smart, or she had the right connections, or, whatever that looks like to somebody else. But my guess is along the way, you've had some pretty hairy moments, some what others might call failures. What would you say was there a defining moment for you in this business that you can think of?
Yeah, there were a lot of defining moments, actually, because there were many pivots along the way that I had to do. There were things that I thought, oh, we're definitely going this way. And then ultimately that wasn't what the clients wanted, or that's ultimately programmatically what couldn't happen. We needed to go this way, or really wanted to do mobile bidding before there was mobile bidding. And we had these tablets that I had purchased, and we call them lily pads. So the lily pads, they're like, iPads. They're encased in a green silicone, and we had them as electronic pieces of paper. Really wanted to use that as electronic bid sheets, basically. And so that was one of the defining moments, is taking the silent auction process and automating it in a way before smartphones were smart. And we had these tablets, Kindles were new at the time. The Nook colors is what we took from Barnes & Noble. We got a big inventory and created LilyPad Mobile from that, and made these electronic pieces of paper available at all the different items in place of a bid sheet where people would walk around with a piece of paper. That was one of the defining moments that it worked. It worked really well. It wasn't exactly the way we had anticipating the next step of the company evolving, but it did. And that was a real defining moment to see that there was another way to do fundraising outside of a bid sheet. And so that was one of the pivots in the company, to really focus on more of a mobile angle and go with the electronic bidding. And so before smartphones were smart, we started to do mobile bidding in a way that was LilyPad Mobile, that started to take off. It became way more time intensive and expensive with programming in each one of these little devices and maintaining the devices. So where we knew it was a good idea, it was the direction we started to go. We did it for a while, and then smartphones started to come around. So the tablet idea became mobile bidding devices. And so there was that was one of the defining moments, I'd say. Another is in hiring people and going away from having friends help you for the equivalent of what I would call Starbucks money to hiring real employees and having a real experience with employee-employer relationship. That was a big defining moment, is going away from the friends and bringing on people who were looking for a job and a career, and building their experience into the company, and really starting to treat it as a real business. Another defining moment.
Just went pro at that moment.
Right.
Kristi, were you always interested in technology? There's a lot of like your business is technology. What was your background before staying at home?
I wasn't always in technology at all. In fact, it became a technology company because having done silent auctions for so long, it's a very manual process, and it's really time intensive, and it's very, it's just exhausting. And so I wanted to automate a lot of the manual processes, checking people in and checking people out, or even silent auctions and the audience that comes to the event. There's got to be a better way to do this, I always thought. So I looked online. There were some options like eBay. eBay was a good option for an online auction, except it didn't work the way I needed it to work for me as a volunteer, as an organizer, as the nonprofit organization. I needed it to operate different than what it was. I knew there was some other way to do this. So through research, there were also a couple of companies who are still competitors to this day that were out there. It's just that it was too expensive. So I just knew there was something better, a different way of doing it. So the more I continued to research and look at options, I figured out I could do this. There is no reason why I couldn't do it. I have all the experience in the world. I know what it takes. It's now a matter of time, money, expertise, programming, technology. So you get people who are a whole lot smarter than you, and you bring them all together and you tell them, this is what I want. At that point, you really could go, in any business and starting a business, you have to decide, well, what's the return on the investment of not only time and money, but where is ultimately the return? And as a hobby and as something that I really enjoyed doing, I really wanted to do this for me and for the community and so many different organizations I was working with. And so I just continued to grow the business, bootstrap style, lifestyle company, just grow as you go, and slow growth, but one auction after the next to just put the money back into the company and just continue to fuel the growth of the company. But I wasn't in tech. It just really became that way because understanding the industry and having the experience, I just really wanted to automate and simplify and streamline.
Is there one person that has been most instrumental to your growth game, your business development?
There's been a number of people along the way. It's not just one person. It's been multiple people throughout the evolution of the company itself. When I first started out, I had a whole lot of people that I surrounded myself with that were familiar with the industry of starting out a business and growing and scaling. And then there were other people at different phases of the company where in the business development, it's the relationships and understanding what other types of companies or industries could I go after that would be a complementary or synergistic company. So there were people that understood the synergies and the industries and the growth trajectory based on relationships and partnerships versus starting a business and getting an LLC and how to really build a base and a platform and understanding pricing. And then beyond that, now that we're more of an established company, now the technology is solid, our team is solid, it's a totally different group of people. There are several people that have just been instrumental throughout all facets of the company. And it really just is completely dependent on the needs of the company and the direction that I need that advice or that perspective from.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
Best piece of advice, boy. Trust your gut, always. And in business, that's so true. I mean, in parenting, in relationships, and just interacting with people in general. In business, it's no different. You really got to trust your gut. I know this industry. I know my business. I know the kind of people that I want to align myself with. And at the end of the day, it's got to be a win-win for not only the partnerships, but also the clients. So if it's not the right client or it's not the right kind of organization that I want to be working with, you got to trust your gut. And that has been a really good piece of advice along the way, no matter what phase in life I'm experiencing just in general, but trust your gut.
Can you think of a time when you, like the last time you didn't listen to your gut and wish you would have?
I think of both ways. Last time, trusted my gut and I was right. But it took me a little bit of time to understand that was the right decision because, you know, my head was saying one thing, my heart was saying another, my gut was telling me another.
That's the way it always is. And I think that's the hardest thing about following your gut is because you've got all of this conflicting information. Your brain is so rational and it's giving you the rational information, and any rational person would follow that. And I'm assuming your gut's like mine, and it's saying another thing that really isn't rational. In fact, it sounds a little bit crazy, and I can't explain why it's the right thing for me. I just know it's the right thing. Is that kind of how yours sounds?
Totally. Yeah, spot on.
It never makes sense, but you follow it anyway. If you could put a theme on 2018, a single word to define that year, what would that be?
Tenacity. I think tenacity. That's a word that's followed me through the years. But that one really comes to mind. Inspiration is another, meaning I look to inspire others. I look to inspire whether it's the nonprofits that we work with to help them do a better job at their own fundraiser. Other employees, people around me, friends. I always try to find the silver lining in life or the experiences, but to find the inspiration from other people as well to help me grow and build my own experiences.
What are you most curious about right now? Now, I know you're a big reader, as am I, and there's always things that I'm interested in, like learning about. Sometimes they have something to do with my business. Oftentimes they don't. So I'm curious, like, what are you Googling these days? What are you pinning? What are you just absorbing of interest?
What I'm trying to figure out, because I know in business that there's 100 different ways from a Sunday you can create a partnership, a joint venture, a business acquisition. I'm looking for what the right algorithm is, what the right partnership is for me with a couple of businesses that I'm looking at aligning myself with. So I'm looking for the best strategies, looking for the biggest win-win in business, that companies can come together and align themselves in a way that ultimately build and grow business together without it being a full merger or full acquisition, what the differences are in joint ventures and how that works, because I'm entering into a couple different new pieces of business to growing Auction Frogs and building on where we're at. So I'm looking at what the right way to do that is.
Do you ever stop mentally working?
Oh, no, I feel like that's a no. Sometimes I can shut down, and those are usually times that I have to go out of the country and forced to shut down. But I find I'm constantly thinking of business. I don't know that I ever really leave it. I can shut down when I'm with family or when we are on vacation, but oftentimes weekends you can find me on my email. You can catch me collaborating or meeting with people or constantly having business meetings and trying to figure out ways to work together with other organizations.
So having said that, how do you recharge yourself?
You know, it's oftentimes just being with friends, and it's finding those times that are not about business. It's not as often as I'd like, but I do find I do have a few good friends that are the escape, that I can hang out with them, and it's not about business. They're not looking for advice. They're not looking for information. It is just strictly silly, fun girl talk. We hang out and can go places and just laugh hysterically. And those are my recharge moments. I need those. I know I need those. I have those with my kids. I have those with my good friends. And I find that I really have to just take the time, which I don't just naturally do. So it's almost forced in a way. I have to force myself to go do those. And once I do, of course, I'm recharged and I love it, but I just don't naturally shut down. I have to really turn the switch off and completely remove myself and not have discussions about business. You know, it's funny when, you know, our kids are out the same age, when they were babies and you go out with your husband, first thing you talk about when you and your husband have those moments away is all about the babies or all about what they're doing or their milestones. It's all about the kids. Well, it's really no difference with business, right? My business is my baby. So I'm constantly thinking about it, constantly talking about it. And everyone I get together with, you have that in common, it seems, because just like as a new mom, you hang out with other new moms. Well, it's really no different. So I really have to force myself and find those times that I can be away from the business without it being all about the business and have those escapes. And those are the times that I find that recharge me.
Love it. I have the hardest time shutting down. So I was curious, you know, what you would say. And for me, it's the exact same thing. It's an intentional thing. And I can feel it. Like I can feel where I actually can't work anymore, but yet I don't quite know what to do if I'm not. And so I find myself in this kind of like comatose state of now, what do I do with myself? And so that's usually when I literally have to get outside. I have to pick up like a novel, which is not the first thing I reach for. So before we wrap up, I know that you've got a busy day ahead of you, but I am curious if there was a question you were hoping I'd ask or expecting me to ask.
What I was hoping you'd ask, I suppose, is Auction Frog's inception 10 years ago started out as an online auction platform helping nonprofits. And where is it today? That's where I was hoping or thinking.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
We would talk about.
Okay.
Okay. So Auction Frogs, over the course of the last couple of years, has really evolved into multiple divisions of the company. One primarily is in minor league sports, where it's called 10X Sports. 10X Sports is powered by Auction Frogs, but it's the mobile bidding entity to Auction Frogs that minor league sports teams use to auction off the game-worn specialty jerseys at their games. And so minor league sports teams around the country are using 10X Sports as a fundraiser to auction off those game-worn and autographed jerseys to their fans in the arenas, in the stadiums during the games. And so these auctions for the mobile bidding are raising money across the nation for these minor league sports teams, not necessarily the nonprofits that we traditionally work in. It's just a totally new vertical. It's a new division of the company. It has its own set of employees and growing in its direction that's completely separate from the gala, silent, live auction fundraising, which is a big deal. So it's a whole new audience, a whole new division of the company that continues to grow and thrive. The other part of the company, a new division that we just launched this past fall, is called Raise It Pro. Raise It Pro is the newest division, and it's a peer-to-peer fundraising campaign that's intended for whether it's nonprofit organizations or athletics and scholastic programs within schools. Think GoFundMe. Okay. And it's just a cash fundraising campaign for athletic teams, say a football team at the schools. And those players on the team send out an email and a text message to their friends and family saying, hey, we're raising money, help us raise money for whether it's new equipment or tournaments or whatever it is. So scholastic programs, same thing. The students get together, put the emails, phone numbers, and it reaches an audience, and they come into a platform to give money for the cause. So Raise It Pro is the name of that company, and it's also powered by Auction Frogs, and that too. Newest division, new vertical of the company, but ultimately the technology is the same. It's just growing in a different way than what gala fundraising is. But we also get involved with the golf tournaments and 5Ks, so which lends itself to different audiences as well. But also we have another division of the company focused on event planners and conferences, where the online auction, the Bid It game, is introduced into the conferences where there's attendees and exhibitors that engage and interact to earn bid it bucks, which is fake money that's used towards bidding on the auction items that the exhibitors donate for the attendees to earn money and bid on. So there's Bid It Game, there's 10X Sports, there's Raise It Pro, and then there's partnerships and integrations with lots of other companies that we've aligned ourselves with to grow and scale the company outside of just the organic nature of online auctions and fundraising for nonprofits. So the company over the last 5 years has really just exponentially grown, going from online auctions in Hidden Springs and Junior League of Boise to now internationally, North America throughout, working with hundreds of organizations a year just in the galas, and then all, of course, with our licensing program and event planners and auctioneers and minor league sports teams, and on it goes. So it's really grown and taken off over the years from just an idea and a hobby.
Your growth has been just exponential. And just watching you and being inspired by you as you continue to just level up your own thinking, level up your business, level up your own CEO game has been incredible. So thinking of other women coming into business, women in business, what is your number one piece of advice for us as business owners, moms, entrepreneurs, super volunteers, and all of the things that we do?
Biggest piece of advice that someone gave me, besides trusting your gut, is to surround yourself with people who support you. And it's finding your passion that inspires yourself and that you love and that you enjoy doing every moment of the day. Enjoy it. Love what you do. You don't want to work to live. You want to live to work, work to live. Does that saying go? But surrounding yourself with people who support you and understand you as a person and can get behind elevating you and knowing where you want to be and what you enjoy, and that will listen to you and will help inspire you or support you in all facets of your own growth. So surrounding yourself with people who care and want to support you, that's a big deal. Finding your passion, love what you do is another, and always, as much as I'm saying this out loud to hear myself say it, you really got to find those moments that you can recharge, because they are so good for your soul. But I do know that we constantly just focus on growing the business or thinking about the business, and it goes back to being that mom. You're always focused on that baby, which is good, but you got to find you too, because you lose yourself in so many ways as a young mom, as moms do. We do everything for everyone, but we stop focusing on ourselves. And I think we have to be sure that we set that time aside to do things for ourselves. And having those people that support you and love you and want to see you grow and have that personal vested interest, that friendship in helping you be a better person, find those people, surround yourself with them, and always remember to find those recharge moments and do things for you.
How can people find you? How can they get in touch with you, Auction Frogs, or any other platforms you want to highlight?
We're on Facebook, Auction Frogs. We're also on Twitter. Auctionfrogs.org is our website. And we have a new website launching, I guess, first of the year. So we'll have a new rebranding of our website coming soon, which is super exciting. But auctionfrogs.org. Oftentimes you can find us all around the community too at these different fundraisers, doing check-in and check-out and helping them grow their fundraisers as well. So yeah, Facebook is a great way to find us.
Awesome. Kristi, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your patience, and so appreciate that you would take the time and be here today. My friends, I'm Heather Quisel, here to level up your business and level up your life. Please leave us a comment. Let us know what you loved most, what resonated with you the most, and we'll see you next time. Mwah.